Some people erase you with just one look, without knowing who you are, without guessing what you might become, yet they keep ignoring you, refusing even to say hello. I walked right through those eyes. And one day when we finally locked eyes, they recognized me. But by then it was too late. Because back then I was just a kid with dirty hands to them. Now those very hands hold signatures that fire their boss. I'm Jack Reynolds. This is the story of my journey, from my deepest silence to my loudest days. And it all began the day I stepped through that rusty factory door and dipped my hands into grease for the first time. On the south side of Chicago, mornings are gray. Even if the air isn't cold, the lack of hope chills you down to the bone. On my first day, I wore a second-hand coat and carried a grocery bag in my hand. Inside were my work clothes. And when I say work clothes, don't imagine anything fancy, just an old t-shirt and worn-out jeans. The factory entrance, it's still fresh in my mind. The smell of metal and sweat hits your face all at once. People forget to even say hello to each other. Time is spent like cash, fast and precious. On that very first day in the stamping section where they put me, I felt what real exhaustion meant. Within 2 weeks, my fingers cracked. The spaces under my nails were blackened, my palms covered with tiny cuts. But when payday came, I held on to those few bucks tight. That money told me, you exist too. Maybe no one else noticed, but I was there every morning. Some days you just don't forget, like the day you got fired, or the day you went to bed hungry. But what stays with you the most are the moments when no one saw you. That day I lost my job, my pride, and my invisibility all at once. But sometimes when something breaks, a new version of you walks out from the pieces. That morning I woke up to the same alarm. Didn't really want to go in, but I had no choice. I was barely keeping up with rent. That job was the only thing holding me together. The morning shift started heavy as usual. I rushed while carrying the metal plates. The supervisor had his eyes on us that day. And then it happened. I tried to lift a heavy plate alone. Cold metal pressed against my fingers. Too much weight, too little grip. A sharp crack. Then heat, pain. I pulled back. But it was too late. My fingers crushed. My vision blurred from the pain. But I didn't scream. Not there. Not in front of them. I wouldn't let them see me weak. At the infirmary, the nurse wrapped my hand. You won't be using that hand for at least 3 weeks, she said. But I wasn't thinking about my hand. I was thinking about how I'd pay rent. 2 hours later, they called me in. Mr. Hendricks, my boss, was waiting behind his glass desk, back straight, eyes sharp. Jack, you've made a few mistakes lately. Today's accident puts you at risk. That's not good for us. I wanted to speak, but my throat tightened. I had no strength to defend myself, no words to change his mind, so I just lowered my head. Today is your last day. Your paycheck is ready. He handed me an envelope. I walked out holding it with bandaged fingers, and a pride I could barely grip. No one looked at me, or maybe they just didn't want to. My apartment was silent, same as always. But that day the silence felt different. It echoed. When you're jobless, the things you don't say start piling up. I lay down. The ceiling was still the same, but I wasn't. Tears ran down my face. Tears no one saw. Being a man sometimes just means crying quietly, alone, without becoming anyone's burden. Emily was at a gala with Jason that night. I heard about it later. Some fancy art gallery. He introduced her to his family. Perfect couple. Perfect setting. Perfect life. That night she checked his phone. Found a message. From someone else. Everyone breaks at some point. I didn't know what broke inside Emily that night. She still didn't know me anyway. But then again, this story couldn't begin until she forgot I existed. The next morning, I woke up again, even though I had nowhere to go. Sometimes habit is the only thing that keeps you holding on. With cracked fingers, I opened my second-hand laptop. Typing hurt, but I kept going. Because I had to start somewhere. Basic technical drawing tutorials, free Freelance CAD jobs, beginner level. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand it all. But trying felt better than quitting. Every key I pressed stung. But that pain, that was the first time it hurt in the right place. Everyone remembers success with applause, but no one hears the first quiet click that starts it all. That tapping sound when your fingers hit the keyboard. Sometimes it's the sound of a man being reborn. I didn't leave the house for 3 weeks. My hand still hurt, but by then I had learned the language of pain. Every keystroke, every failed sketch, pulled me a little further from the old Jack. I followed free courses online, turned on English subtitles to understand those YouTube guys. Sometimes I'd pause and use a dictionary. Hours flew by. My head throbbed. But when I got my first freelance job offer, my eyes filled with tears. It was a garage door company. They wanted a simple part drawn. $25. Tiny, irrelevant, barely worth the effort. But I stayed up 3 nights to finish it. When I sent the file, my hands were still stained. But this time, the darkness was coloring my hopes, not my soul. When the first payment hit my PayPal, I just stared at my bank account. $25 USD. The numbers were small, but they felt massive. This is it, I said. I can build something with dirty hands. I kept working. I learned a bit more every day. My sketches got cleaner. My time got faster. I'd stay up all night and walk home with grocery bags in the morning. But now, those bags carried more than just bread. They carried confidence. Around that time, I overheard a kid on the street mention Emily's name. Said she was working at a cafe for a few days. Something happened with Jason's family. She wanted peace. A simpler life. Strange. Someone like Emily, craving simplicity. One day I went to that cafe, sketchbook in hand. I sat inside, but I didn't see her. Maybe she wasn't there. Maybe even if she saw me, she wouldn't recognize me. My hair had grown. My beard was in. I dressed sharper now. But my hands, they were still the same. Only now, I carried them with pride. I looked for her. Didn't find her. Maybe I misheard. Or maybe fate was telling me. Not yet. In 6 months, I landed 5 different jobs. Small assembly firms, a billboard design, an electric scooter part, all small gigs. But I gave them everything. Because I wasn't just a laborer anymore. I was a craftsman. My craftsman, I didn't need an alarm to wake up. Something inside me did that now. Every day, pushing to be better. Every day, passing that old factory, trying not to meet the eyes of my own reflection in the glass. My fingers were still rough. But now, they didn't touch cold machines. They reached for dreams. And sometimes, dreams start at just $25. I used to think applause was what motivated people most, but I learned how to walk without it. Success sometimes comes unseen, and that's the hardest part. Being alone in your own light. The nights I spent in front of my computer were starting to bear fruit. No more small tasks. Now small companies were offering me part-time support gigs. One of them would change my life. Norwin Concepts, a small manufacturing firm in the Midwest. They were looking for a freelance designer for their new product line. I sent in my files. 3 hours later, I got a reply. Your designs are very clean. We'd like to work with you. This time it wasn't a $25 job. It was a $1,000 offer. I had never touched money like that before. I closed my laptop and leaned my head against the wall. Smiled silently, because if I shouted, I thought someone might hear me. But there was no one. Just me. Nender. Within 3 months, things got so busy, my little home desk couldn't keep up. I rented a tiny storage space, threw in a table, a chair, and a few sketchboards. I needed a name. I called it Raincraft Design. My first tiny empire, built by hand in the digital world. I printed business cards. Doors I knocked on still didn't open, but emails, they were finally getting read. And for me, that was enough. Around that time, Emily and Jason broke up. Why? Not because of some shocking betrayal, but the betrayal everyone saw coming. Jason worked. Emily got lonelier. Her dream life was full of luxury, but starved of love. A mutual friend told me, Emily hasn't been herself lately. I think she's thinking about moving back in with her mom. I said nothing. She still didn't know me, still didn't know my name, but somewhere inside me, something still whispered hers. Nender. Then one day, an email landed in my inbox. Subject: Request for Industrial Design Consulting. Sender: Hendricks Manufacturing. Yes, that Hendricks. The same old boss. The one who fired me. The one who couldn't even look me in the eye on my way out. They were launching a new production line, now outsourcing their designs. The offer was clear. Weekly consulting. Paper project. I accepted, but gave no name. Just a business card. Raincraft Design. They asked me to come in. I would go, but this time, not as a worker. As a partner. Nender. I looked at myself in the mirror. My hair was neater, beard trimmed, shirt pressed. But most importantly, I still carried those same old hands, stained, cracked, but no longer afraid. I paused outside the building for a few seconds. Same entrance, same security guard, same staircase. But I wasn't the same man anymore. Nender. I knocked. A voice from inside said, Come in. And in that moment, I opened the same door that once shut in my face, only this time from the other side. When people look down on you, you think they've forgotten you, but what they never forget are the things you reminded them of, without saying a word. And one day, when they no longer recognize you, you've already risen above them. When I walked into Hendricks Manufacturing, everything felt the same. The faded walls, the plastic plants, that burnt smell from the coffee machine. Still there, but I was walking in another time now. They didn't recognize me. My shirt was clean, my hair neatly combed, my files in a folder. They thought I was just another design consultant. We sat down, discussed project details. The work wasn't hard. What was hard was looking into the eyes of the men across from me and saying nothing. But I waited for the moment, and it came. At the end of the meeting, Hendricks closed my folder and repeated my name. Jack Reynolds. I feel like I've heard that name before. He lifted his head, looked at me, eyes narrowing slightly. Then, nothing. Have we met before? I smiled inside, but all I did was nod politely. Maybe once, in a small position. I was a man with dirty hands, but now, I work only with ideas. His face turned red, but he said nothing, because now, I held the cards. That evening, I was invited to a local innovation event, sponsored by design firms. Raincraft was one of the sponsors. As I scanned the guest list, one name caught my eye. Emily Harlow. That name, that face, that distance. I saw her across the room. Her hair was tied up. Her outfit was simple, but her head still held high. There were people around her, but she looked alone. One of the speakers on stage mentioned my firm. Raincraft Design is one of the fastest rising new-gen firms in the industry. And in that instant, Emily turned her head. Her eyes scanned the room. And then, our eyes met. She watched me. For a long moment. But it wasn't recognition. It was searching. Like digging up a memory half forgotten. And then, she slowly approached. Excuse me. Have we met before? I smiled. The same question Hendricks asked. But this time, my answer was a little different. I don't think so. If we had, you'd remember. And I turned and melted into the crowd. Inside I was a storm. For years I had dreamed of just one look from her. And now, she looked. But I was no longer that Jack. And the Jack she remembered never truly existed. You don't have to change for people to finally see you. Sometimes you just have to wait until they lift their own blindfolds. That night, for the first time, when I laid my head on the pillow, I didn't feel powerful. I felt free. Because now, I didn't live to be remembered. I lived to be proud of the version they chose to forget. Some people lose you early in life because they recognized you too late, and by the time they do, you no longer belong to their world. Raincraft Design acquired Hendricks. We optimized every design and production process. Profits went up. Old systems collapsed. New software took over. And one day, Hendricks was officially forced to hand over full operational control to me. I was now the owner of that factory. The same man once thrown out the back door for having dirty hands wasn't just walking through the front anymore. He was unlocking it. My office had glass walls. From up high, I looked out over Chicago's gray skyline. In my hand were a few final documents, the transfer papers. Hendricks signed them, shook my hand quietly, and walked out. No apology, no thank you. But he didn't need to. He had said plenty back then. And now his silence said even more. A week later, my assistant leaned in and said, "Jack, someone's here to see you." The door opened. Emily. She wore a simple trench coat, a bag in her hand, uncertainty in her eyes. But her gaze clear. She remembered. Not just my face. My name, too. "Are you really Jack? Jack Reynolds?" I tilted my head and smiled. It's nice to finally be remembered. Silence. A long one. She swallowed as if pushing back words. Then, without looking away, "Back then, I didn't know. I didn't see it. I didn't see you. You can't have changed this much." I looked into her eyes. Sure, my appearance had changed, but the boy I used to be was still there. "I never changed, Emily. I just became someone no one dares to underestimate anymore." Emily started talking about Jason, the pressure from her family, her regrets. But really, every word whispered the same thing. "I wish I had seen you. Back then." She reached out, her fingertips brushing the corner of my file. But I didn't lean in. I didn't reach back. Because I knew I wasn't going back to that story. "I've forgiven you, Emily. But I can't send myself back there. I'm not building the past anymore. I'm building the future." Her eyes welled up, but no tears fell. Because this wasn't a moment for tears. It was a quiet goodbye. After she left, I stood by the window. Below, people rushed by in a hurry. But me, I stood still. And for once, I didn't feel like anything was missing. If anything, I felt whole. I had written my story not with someone's approval, but with my own calloused hands. And now, even if just one person remembers me, that's enough, because I never forgot myself. They remember my name now, but the truth is, I learned who I was when they had all forgotten it.